Hey Jamie.
Hey.
Over the last 5 years, I've really learned a lot. And these videos are formal video testimony and evidence. And one thing that I've learned is that the legal community really wants to discredit human beings who are extremely, apt in being able to defend themselves via legal concepts that are really withheld from the general public because only law school student graduates are supposed to be lawyers, so that's understandable. But when you talk about these videos, please understand that these videos are in conjunction with the filings that we do, but in
Yes.
reality, it is virtually impossible to file thousands of pieces of paper and get as little result as we have had unless
Yes.
there is an actual systemic conspiracy designed to suppress. Now, that is easily proven by creating this content and looking at the number of days that it goes from identifying the actual motion to the ruling. And what's really interesting about this channel is that, believe it or not, it'll be much more interesting to see a judge rule in favor of criminals who are very apt at the court, within the, yeah, using the
You mean like
courts.
lawyers?
Lawyers, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they call themselves lawyers, I call them criminals because what they do and harass and file frivolous litigation after frivolous motion and motion and motion really needs to be categorized in a criminal fashion because my videos are in direct response to the lack of anything that's been done in my cases. And a lot of the humor in me being a father is that if you watch the video before this, I get into the camera, I get animated, I become, scary. But the truth is that this is YouTube. This is real testimony with a dramatic theatrical feel so that I can have a private life and be slightly different in my private life than I am here. And that delta, that difference, means everything in the world to the audience. Because to them, what I say on YouTube far exceeds what I do in the real world. And me, in the real world, says, that's YouTube, guys. That's just video evidence that I need to do to document it so that I don't have to keep doing it. So in reality, if I allocate 1 hour a day to document the current process of what's going on, it is far more efficient than spending 8 hours a day hammering away at a wall that will never come down.
Yeah, it's a video diary. It's a way to go back in time and look and see what was going on.
And it really is, that wall is really the fifth wall.
I was going to say.
It's the fifth
The
wall.
fifth wall.
And the fourth wall is simply broken by bringing the audience in here. Most people cannot watch this channel. It is undigestible because they've never had this flavor before in their life. So it is impossible for the audience to really comprehend that we live in a society where their brain patterns and thoughts used to be controlled by a really well-oiled, coherent machine known as Hollywood or the US government. And now there is something called the sentient algorithm,
Yes.
known as the
that's
singularity, that is run amok.
true.
And a good example,
So run them up.
it's run amok. And the great example that I'll state is that I'm gonna tell you right now how the singularities narrative versus what we do is so dangerous and so predictable that I'm gonna tell you right now how it works, all right? Tomorrow I'll film the video about what to do in an active response in a active shooter situation, which is really important
Okay.
for everyone who is over the age of 18, or even if you're younger. Just please pay very close attention. And I want to think about my words very carefully because it's one of those videos where you'll see me running.
Sadly,
directly
so many
at-
people
well,
under age 18.
You have to understand that it's one of those videos where do as I say, not as I do. Because I'm going to very clearly direct everyone to run away and not shelter in place or hold still. And there's one of those things where I gotta say that it is very dangerous to give advice in these types of situations in advance because should your advice be heeded and something bad happens, you become the party that's responsible for it.
Right.
But I want to remind everyone that it is a travesty that it even occurs. in the world of the US government, we see an active shooter as the same as a bomb explosion. It already has happened. So the ramifications of how do you mitigate the losses is really something that could only be looked backwards at, not present
Are we
or
talking about it
forwards.
right now, or?
We're talking about
tomorrow?
talking about it. We're talking
We're
about
pre-talking
We're
about it.
pre-talking about it. And the reason why we pre-talk about it is because as a human being who is not able to earn a traditional income due to the crimes that I have to resolve, I have to take the time and show the world that what I'm doing is actually very productive and really helpful. That even if it helps save one human being's life, it really is an altruistic, positive thing that I do with my platform. Because in reality, if we film for 22 minutes at a time, only 5 to 14 minutes of that is relevant factual data
Right.
that is used as fact. The material in between needs to be filled in with, how do I say this? Preamble, postamble, and just filler words in order to make the human being that's watching this be able to digest it. So for example, we are dealing with a real world scenario of the courts completely shitting the bed and failing me and everybody else in New Jersey. Because let's be honest, I am nothing more than a regular citizen. So if it happened to me, it can happen to you. So pay attention. And that's really important, right?
Yeah,
See that right thing that people like to do,
it's the
salesmen?
Long Island right.
The wrong Island right.
It's
Keep
so
going
wrong.
It's that's very funny. Where was I? I'm sorry, Long Island throws me off.
That
You
the
know,
content,
It's almost like it
there's
was
a
built
little-
on Indian burial
there's
ground.
preamble and stuff that you have to put in,
All right,
14 minutes of fact. And
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. See,
Yeah.
best in the business. So, what I was basically saying is that the filler in between is things like this, okay? So right now, we don't actually live in a world of Democrats and Republicans. We actually live in a world of liberals and conservatives. And I
Okay.
can explain that and easily debunk the entire concept of branding liberal and conservatives by the Tesla Corporation's visceral image that has really been based on a liberal agenda that wants to. The brand was built
You love
on liberals.
Okay, Tesla.
Me, myself, I'm both. I'm a conservative and I'm liberal.
Okay,
I'm both, because there's many things that I'm very liberal about, such as my choices, the way I see, like, for example, I have 2 children. If one of them chooses to be a homosexual, I very much support their choice. I'm not gonna be a person that stops the progress of happiness. And I think that a lot of the conservative agenda doesn't really take that into hand. And that's where we have judges pretending to be liberal, because they're actually really conservative. But because they have to sentence Black, Hispanic, and other minorities that really find themselves to be the prevalent demographic of statistical danger to law enforcement and creating any type of hostile environment image, not reality.
okay,
Because remember, Judge Salas's, the man that hurt her and her family was a white guy, no? He was just a white guy. So the reason why judges really lean towards a liberal stance and why Donald Trump is continuously finding himself subject to a political agenda is because when you're a judge, the large corporations, they're really not gonna hurt you, and neither are the lawyers and things like that. But
okay,
one criminal that you sentence can come back and really hurt you. So by creating an agenda where you are liberal, you're for the people, you're able to sentence and really have the understanding of the
but
urban
you're
community.
doing your job.
You're doing your job. You're just doing your job. I'm one with you guys. I hate Donald Trump. I hate guns. But you need to go to jail for no reason for 12 years, and I'm going to get in my car that's protected by a police officer that takes me to a $3 million house. And that's just the way it is.
Well said,
That's just the way it is.
that's just the way it
That's
is.
just the way it is. That's just the way it is. You know, because the judge went to law school and, you know, she works really, really hard, and you guys can save all that bullshit for everybody else. And that's why this video is named The Quantum of Solace. Because this is video evidence, and this is where we really take a pause and say that had I be saying this in a court, Judge Sherwood would yell at me and say,
Oh.
I will not allow disparaging comments in my
Yes,
courtroom. But
right.
Judge Sherwood, what do you do about criminals that commit crimes inside of your courtroom? Such as Richard Trank,
Oh, yeah.
who was allowed to represent the estate, even
Richard
though
Trank, Anthony Sedona.
Judge Salas herself. Well, Your Honor, it's funny to me because what's really funny is that I cannot exercise my freedom of speech to address whistleblowing. That's what I'm doing. I'm not blowing hot air, I'm blowing a whistle. It's a big fucking difference. And in order to use the bench and say, I will not allow disparaging comments, is a violation of my constitutional rights of freedom of speech and a violation of me as a whistleblower. Because what I am doing is God's work. I am doing this on the fucking behalf of every single person that lives in the United States that is the subject of unfair and incompetent judges that are nothing more than patsies put in place for very powerful individuals to avoid and circumvent the responsibility of controlling that same said judge. That's why I call for a peaceful resignation. Judges need to know that they have been manipulated. Their honor has been soiled because of the decisions that they have justified. Now, whatever decisions that they have made because they used to work with someone or they know this guy or whatever it is, I don't give a flying fuck. Neither does anyone at PG. We are trying to do our best. And that's where I have, with the Lustig case, you've got one of the principal plaintiffs in prison right now.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there and he's going to be my first witness. And the reason for that is because the courts really need to see how preposterous that I have to even address liability for something that was stolen from me. My ideas, I invented Perfect Pawn. I invented the buyback, which is worth billions. I invented all of that, all concepts. I invented a way to do it legally, not illegally. And not only are these people breaking the laws, they have stolen all of my IP and are suing me and claiming that I owe them money. And the courts are that fucking dumb. That's how dumb the courts are. And that's where I say I'm sad, because had we been running with digital technology, artificial intelligence, and other factors that are far more coherent than incompetent old white people, some Hispanic, but it's just mainly white guys that are old. They're old. Anyone who doesn't understand how important YouTube is old. You guys are old. I'm old. But I'm not as old as the mentality of the legal system. And what's even scarier is when you have people that are like my age or a little bit younger that don't understand what's going on, especially young parents. Like when you're dealing with young parents, they should see this channel and be like, wow, this is really brilliant, because this is the first person that is an adult that is speaking in a controversial manner. And the only reason it's controversial is because your brains haven't caught up. In reality, what I'm saying is nothing more than the facts.
Yeah.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it has to be documented and stay here forever, because I'm just tired of people lying. So, I don't understand how a person is able to keep the amount of things that I have going in my own brain, let alone how people are able to continuously keep the position of, it's very simple, they don't even know what they're arguing about. Just whatever I say, if you just say the opposite, you're like, there you go. Like, it's pretty simple.
It's true.
So if I say, you know what, I am broke as a joke and I have nothing at all. Like, maybe like, no, this guy's worth millions, it's just that. All right, no problem. I'm worth around 100 to 250 million, depending on how the calculation. No, this guy's a fucking joke. He's broke. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what I say. It does not matter what I say. No matter what I say, somebody will say the complete opposite.
It's true.
And really,
very true.
that stems, and that says to me a lot. That says that the context of what I say doesn't matter. But who I am as a human being is really what determines the position of the other party. And if you're a human being that is me, one will find a reason to discredit and go against what I say. But it seems like a lot of other people that look and sound like me are very successful in their right, because they're able to conform to this bullshit deity known as money.
Yes.
And that's where I find is my biggest flaw, is that I do not worship the dollar, because I want to remind everyone that I invented the future US dollar. It is within the label of, or the brand of Microbank. That is real. My intelligence exceeds everything that I've been able to create, and I'm at a point where the only competition I have is myself. I'm on YouTube talking about something that I invented as an example of how far I have gone on how little I have. So when the time comes that I actually have my own resources at my own disposal, there's nothing that's going to stop me except myself. And that's the brilliance of this channel, is that I've gotten to a point where I'm scarred, I'm bruised, my ego is hurt, but not only am I alive, all my brands are active, I have been able to stop all the bleeding, I'm at a coherent point in the cases where if you're going to go against me and you're going to rule against me, you're going to be labeled as an incompetent judge and a criminal supporter. Because what I'm doing is really, like I said, in God's word, man, I'm fucking, you know, I once one of my kids is really smart, and he's also really good in baseball, and he really has a huge heart, and the other one's name's Drake. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I love Drake so much. He's my firstborn, and he actually can take a joke better than my younger son. But that's neither here nor there. I'm a really proud dad, and if you're not able to, I actually don't go anywhere alone unless I'm in dad mode. So that's a very important thing, is that the reason why Mal, Jamie, and other people that you might have noticed around me is that it is not good for me to be alone, because people make up stories and that really creates me, it throws me off, let's just put it this way. And tonight we're going to talk about a human being that lives in Livingston, and when we're driving tonight, I really want to go into the dangers of when a human being with a degree on their wall, either medical or legal, makes an assertion against a human being in their private capacity. It is very dangerous, it is really unfair, and it is really hurtful for the community as a whole, because it discredits honorable people that do this job and do not use their diploma in order to push an agenda.
Correct.
And what's really important about this video is that anyone that gets anything out of this needs to understand that I am a human being that can only do a limited amount given what I have done. But at the same time, what I have done far exceeds anything that I was required to do. And my son, Pierce, he was playing baseball, and in my town of Livingston, New Jersey, you're required to play rec if you play traveling. So he's playing rec, and it was like one of those like Bugs Bunny cartoons where he's like throwing the ball, catching it at the same time. He played outfield, second base, and pitcher on the majority of the plays. The coach, or sometimes I would pitch, whatever. And short story long, that's the way I feel where we have come to at this point, where, yeah, sure, the burden of proof was on me. I proved it about 4 years ago. And at this point, we're at video 1,439. And rather than saying that, wow, look at how flawed the system is based on the numbers, we as a society just look at me and be like, hey, this guy's totally crazy. This guy's totally crazy. Like, I'm totally crazy, but I have the cure for Alzheimer's, and instead of supporting me and letting me release it, you go against me on these petty fucking bullshit real estate matters that you can't disprove, you can't beat me in. Like, if anything,
it's like name calling.
I make 50 videos where I talk about a meeting where Donald Trump, Barack Hussein Obama, Vladimir Putin, and Elon Musk are $1, $0, and all these other cock-sucking clowns, no women, that are bad.
Oh, I was like,
that are bad.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer that as a guy I need to go further than a woman in order to describe, hey man, like women have it rough, period. Like women have it rough. Like when a human being has to produce a human outside of their body, I'm not really sure if there's anything a man can ever do. Like, I've had some serious bowel movements in my life, you know, like post-Mexican, like not trying to be like offensive, I'm just saying, you know, it's beans. And you know, I felt really uncomfortable afterwards. I don't know what it, see that chair, that little chair right here? Like, there are humans that are like, can sit in that chair that you produce out of your body. Like, you have 3 children.
Yeah.
My wife made 2 children. Like, I had nothing to do with that. Like, I might have had a biological something, but
It was
I don't
so-
know.
I would.
And that's where the show White Lotus, and that's why I need to digest.
You
I don't know if because I haven't watched the last episode, and I don't think I'm going to do it beforehand. But essentially, watching White Lotus is like being thankful that you've been in a car accident and you're not dead. It is a show that really only works when you really appreciate that, hey, this is not my life. It is. Like, it's one of those shows where there's a lot of similarities between the characters and every person that watches it, where everyone is very relatable. The characters are really relatable.
Right.
But you are so glad that you're not in the circumstances where you're about to be murdered or any of that stuff. And on that note, I want to say that please give me a chance, and I promise you, I will prevail.